I also had the opportunity to jump the Ranger Raptor. It was not a huge jump, but still we had the chance to jump it. So it was really cool. Today we're talking about the Ford Ranger Raptor. Yes, finally we've got the Raptor version for the Ranger. This is the Gen 2, so second generation for the Raptor. Unfortunately, we didn't have the first gen in the North American market, so in Canada and the US. Countries like the Australia, South Africa, and other ones used to have the Gen 1 Raptor. This one was available with different powertrain. Some countries used to have the diesel one, but for the new generation of the Ranger, Ford is bringing the Raptor version of the Ranger. It's really cool they're bringing this version because we used to have only the F-150 and the other countries had the Ranger but didn't have the F-150. So now the Raptor family is expanding with the F-150 Raptor, F-150 Raptor R, Bronco Raptor, and now the last one, the Ranger Raptor. So I traveled to Utah with Ford Canada and Ford USA to drive the new Ranger Raptor. I was pretty excited to drive this. If you know me, I used to own a Gen 1 F-150 Raptor, and now these days I'm driving a Ram 1500 TRX. So high-speed off-roader, it's my niche. I really like that. This is kind of trucks I always love to drive, and I love all their build. And I really want to stress these trucks are high-speed off-roader and not low-speed off-roader. So they're built for kind of like a Baja 1000. They're wider, they have more traveling in the suspension and all that. So I really like those trucks. So talking about the Ford Ranger Raptor 2024. So price-wise, it starts at $77,945 Canadian. And for the US, it starts at $55,470. The model we were testing is pretty well equipped. It was around $84,000 Canadian, maybe 70 US. Under the hood, we can find a V6 3-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost. Similar powertrain we can find under the hood of a Ford Explorer ST. This engine is matched to a 10-speed transmission. It's good for 405 horsepower and 430 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty powerful engine for this size of truck. Quick reminder, back in the day, Gen 1 Raptor used to have the V8 6.2 liter, and it was good for 411 horsepower, just on top of my head. So yeah, we're catching up with the pass, not only on the price, but also on the horsepower side. Price-wise, I remember Gen 1 Raptor was cheaper than that, thanks to inflation. Speaking of the Ranger Raptor, it's an all-wheel drive system that features locking front and rear differential, as well as a low range and a 4 auto all-wheel drive modes. So while driving the Ranger Raptor, there's different modes going to change the behavior of the all-wheel drive 4x4 system. Some modes will activate the 4-wheel drive. You can run it in 2-wheel drives. All the modes are pretty similar to what you can find inside of a F-150 Raptor. There's also front and back locking differential. What's fun, when you're changing your modes, you're able to deactivate those lockers. That's a big plus. But unfortunately, while I was there was a few engineers and expert on the subject. We even have someone coming from Australia who was there, who worked a lot on the Gen 1 Raptor. And one of my questions is this 4x4 system, is it just a 4x4 with different type of modes, or it's a flexible all-wheel drive system, I could say, similar to the Ram TRX. And it's not the case for Ford. It's always a 50-50 distribution of the power. Example, in the Ram TRX, if you put it in sport mode, it's going to be like 70% in the back, 30 in the front. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40. So there's not the flexibility and the fun we can find inside of a TRX. Maybe the TRX, we're not able to put it in two-wheel drive, but at least we can switch the power, similar to a GTR, Porsche Turbo, 911 Turbo, or something like that. So that's something I wish the Raptor, F-150, and the Ranger would have, but it's not the case. So while driving, you can really feel it's a 50-50 distribution, even if the stability control, the traction control are a little bit looser in different modes like sport or Baja and stuff like that. So while I was in Utah, beautiful scenery in the backdrop. We had like mountains and all that. It's really the ideal spot for a Raptor in general. Just the way the roads, the off-road stuff and all that. We'll talk a little bit later about this. Performance-wise, this engine under the hood it's pretty potent, I could say. You can do the 0 to 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers in about 5 seconds. I didn't have the chance to really test the real time, but it was around that time. This truck is quick, but not that quick. I could say that the focus is mostly on the performance while doing some off-road. It's a sweet spot in between those two. I could say the Raptor version is more on the high speed, performance side, but it won't be the actual small truck's gonna win at the lights on the streets, street racing or at the drag strip. It's not that quick, I could say, because it's still a heavy off-road machine. It's not a beast like a Raptor R or TRX, but it's quick, but not TRX, Raptor R quick, I could say. Maybe quicker than F-150 with the EcoBoost. The F-150 with the EcoBoost is not super quick, I could say. While I was testing all the generation and all that, I could say probably the F-150 Tremor would be a little bit quicker than the F-150 Raptor with the EcoBoost, especially if you've got the 37 inches packaging on the Raptor. Those big tires really slow down that truck, that's for sure. But on the Ranger Raptor, we can find the 33 inches BF Goodrich all-terrain KO3s wrap with 17 inches wheels, and those are available with the beadlock ring from the Ford accessories department. I'm not a big fan of KO2s or KO3s. They're good for off-roading, doing some high-speed off-roading or rock crawling or slow, trail off-roading. They're good tires for that, but they're pretty rigid tires. So on the road, the ride, you have to make some sacrifice on the comfort and also on the noisy side of this tire. I really like the approach of the TRX on this side. It's more friendly for the streets, for everyday use with the Goodyear territories. It's a softer tire. You've got better grip on, normal roads. I know this is an off-road machine, but, most off-road machine, they spend 70, 80, 90% of the time on the road. So sometimes it's hard to make a big sacrifice on comfort like that. There's a sweet spot for my kind of use. I prefer a softer tire. I don't do any rock crawling and all that. Obviously, with a harder compound, harder sidewall tire, there's less chances of punctures, but I feel the ride quality on the road was sacrificed because of those tires and not because of the shocks or it's a wider truck. Usually those trucks are pretty comfortable, but I found those KO2s, same thing for Raptor R and the normal Raptor, I found these tires a little bit too hard for nothing, especially if you're not doing any rock crawling. So the Ranger Raptor is larger than the typical Ranger. The width, it's a little bit larger than 4.3 inches compared to the normal Ranger. So that's cool. That's kind of like a wide body, I could say. Same thing for F-150 Raptor, TRX and all that. And that really changed the truck, the behavior and all that. And that will make those trucks high-speed off-roader. That makes the Ranger a Raptor. By enlarging this truck, you have to change completely the geometry of the suspension. And this truck is not just only a Ranger with lifted suspension. It's really a completely new truck, wider, and the suspension is completely changed basically on this truck. Some people with less knowledge in suspension and also on high-speed off-road suspension, sometimes they just think it's a lifted Ranger, a lifted F-150, a lifted Ram, and it's not the case. Speaking of the suspension, we can find 2.5 inches Fox live valve dampers up front, and in the back we've got Fox damper also with coilovers and with the Watt Link setup, and this will replace the regular leaf spring you can find on a Ranger. So that improves a lot the handling on and off road. It's night and day. Different setup than the F-150 Raptor. I could say that's a good setup, but I would prefer the one we can find on the F-150. Obviously, the F-150 has got more setup close to a pre-runner, and this one is kind of like in between the leaf spring and the setup you find on F-150. But while we were doing some off-roading, that Watt Link system was putting the power to the ground, and that's what's really important about this system. So once again, multiple modes is going to change the behavior of not only your steering wheel, your engine, your transmission, your suspension. Is going to change also the way the dampers are going to be softer or maybe a little bit looser. But also your exhaust is going to change. So you can put it in quiet mode, normal mode, sport mode, even in Baja mode. Baja mode is the loudest. I could say it's a pretty good sounding little truck. From my point of view, this truck sounds better, more real than the F-150 Raptor with the EcoBoost. From my point of view, I'm not a big fan of the trombone exhaust you can find on the F-150 Raptor. It feels kind of like a fake sound, a weird sound for a big truck like that. For this one with the 3-liter, it's not a good sound like a V8, but for a 6-cylinder, it sounds pretty good. So driving the Ranger Raptor, solid on the road. You've got a wider stance, obviously. Like I said, I was expecting a little bit more comfort from the Raptor. I'm used to the Gen 1 and Gen 2 F-150. Even the F-150 Raptor with the 37, it's pretty comfortable. This one, I thought the ride was a little bit rougher than the normal Ranger. I drove also the new Ranger. I thought the new Lariat or even the XLT had a really good ride. It was really comfortable. But with the Ranger, the ride was rough. For most people, it's going to say like, oh yeah, but it's an off-road machine. When it's an off-road, high-speed off-roader, usually it comes with some kind of a comfort. I'm used to it. It's not like a Jeep. My TRX is really comfortable on the road. My Gen 1 F-150 was also pretty comfortable on the road. I thought, they could have done something better, but I'm sure if you change those tires for maybe a softer compound, a less aggressive rock crawling compound, that Ranger Raptor will be amazing on the road. Design-wise, we can easily recognize it's a Ranger Raptor. We've got that bold grille in the front with those big letters saying Ford. Obviously, it's wider than a normal Ranger. We've got the decals in the back. We've got the big lettering saying Ranger on the tailgate. On top of the tailgate, we've got that Ranger logo also. This is new for me. Usually, it's on the bottom of the tailgate, but on the Ranger, you've got those big lettering. So I guess this is why they put it, the Ranger logo there. But a really nice looking truck. It looks like a Ranger, but looks modern, but it's not funky. I like the big skid plate in the front. I think the 33 inches are a good size. It's really built for, once again, high-speed off-roading. When you're looking at the Colorado ZR2 or the Canyon AT4X, those have 35 inches tires, but those are more built for the trail than high-speed off-roading. It depends what you're looking for, what you're using your pickup truck for. But me, I like a sweet spot right in between, you know, just high speed and some off-roading like that. It just, for me, I'm a big fan of Raptors. It's no surprise. Stepping inside of the Ranger Raptor, we've got amazing seats, Recaro seats, really comfortable, not too tight. I like those seats. Usually sometime when we're inside of a SUV or a pickup truck, when you have those racing seats, a little bit too tight from my point of view. It's not the case inside of this Ranger Raptor. I like that new screen, vertical screen. It's a pretty big screen. It works pretty well. Obviously, we still have some buttons at the bottom. We've got some Raptor logos all around, orange touches, also stitches. That reminds me of the first gen F-150 Raptor with all those orange touches all around. Also, the cluster now are all digitals. We got paddle shifters to change the gears. Transmission wise, it was not the sharpest, I could say, but it's an off-road machine. It's a truck. It's built for off-roading and towing and all that. So you don't have to expect to be sharp like an Audi or a Porsche or something like that. But it was doing a good job. Overall, you know, speaking of the interior, pretty comfortable. What I was not really impressed, and this is like Ranger in general, not the Raptor, in the back, the bench seats, when you want to lift it, it's not a 60-40 split. You have to lift completely the seat. I thought that was like a mistake from the last generation, and I thought in this generation they're gonna fix that problem, and it's not the case. So if you want to bring someone in the back, but you still have you want to use some space inside of the cab, you're not able to do it with the Ranger. And I'm not sure why they're not doing it. It's just like, just split that seat in the back, just like a normal 1500. I know GM is doing it with the Colorado and Canyon and all that. So I'm not sure why they're doing this. So once again, that screen is pretty quick, easy to work with. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless, same thing, wireless charging for your phone, all the gadgets you want inside of this Ranger Raptor. Auxiliary switches on the top, really cool if you want to add some accessories, lights and stuff like that. So it's a pretty huge screen. It's 12 inches big. It works pretty well. Also in the normal Ranger works well also. That's a nice upgrade for this generation. Fuel economy wise, I was not able to really test a fuel economy because I was driving these trucks mostly off-road, and we didn't spend like a week like I usually do here at home. So maybe later this year when I'm going to have one here, I'm going to be able to test it in my normal driving area. I'm going to be able to bring you some numbers, but I think this truck is going to be around 13 liters per 100 kilometers, so 18 mpgs. That's what I think it's going to do from my point of view. If we're looking at the payload of the Ranger Raptor, it's good for 1,411 pounds. This is more than the Colorado ZR2 and the Gladiator Mojave. But on the towing side, you can tow only up to 5,150 pounds. This is a little bit less than the competition. Usually the competition can tow 6,000 pounds. So while I was there in Utah, we had the chance to visit the new Ford Performance School for Raptors. So it's called the Raptor Assault. So basically, when you're buying a Ranger Raptor, you've got a free 1 day of driving, and they're gonna show you how to manage your Ranger Raptor in high-speed off-roading and also on low-speed off-roading. It's pretty great. Back when I used to work at Ford in the auto show, we were selling the Ford Performance School. It was called the Ford Racing School back in the day. They used to have like program for the Fiesta ST, Focus ST, Focus RS, Mustang, Shelby's, and all that. Really great inside. You've got some apparel you can buy. You got classrooms. You've got some Raptor Harp. You've got a big garage and all that. It's pretty cool. They have a huge team also there ready to help you. So if you buy a Ranger Raptor, it comes with your purchase. You have to, do your own accommodations, so hotel, travel, and all that. But the rest should be free. They have a really awesome course. A little bit, we have to drive maybe 15, 20 minutes, and we're in the desert. So basically, we're doing the same thing as we can see right now on the screen. So those were the Baja high-speed off-roading. So we learn how to control the Ranger Raptor in different modes. So normal modes, Baja modes. We're turning on and off, the systems, the stability, the traction control, and all that. So you can push it in the desert, basically. It was pretty great. We could really push and see the capacities of this truck. And these are really built for that, doing some high-speed off-roading, especially in the desert and all that. So you have to put your helmet, and you got also something for your neck and all that. We had tons of fun. I also had the opportunity to jump at the Ranger Raptor. It was not a huge jump, but still we had the chance to jump it. It was really cool. We didn't do any like really high speed to do that jump. We had to start it in second gear and floor it, and we were able to, had some little bit air, not a big hair, but when you're jumping a little bit too high, it's still, you can damage the truck and you can damage yourself also. Back in the day, one of my friends used to work with Hummer, and they used to have like an off-road course, and one of the person from the public sent it a little bit too much, and basically while jumping, the person who were the pro driver, or the person with that person who was driving, had some issues, some injuries through her back. So I know it looks cool when you're on YouTube and on that doing a big jump, but it comes with a big cost most of the time. So while we were there, we had like different courses, different pattern of high-speed off-roading, but we did some trail also with the Ranger Raptor, and this is where the Ranger really shine. Especially if you compare it to the F-150 Raptor. While we were there, we were following an F-150 Raptor, and some spots were a little bit tighter than the other. And you could see now that because the Ranger is way smaller, and it doesn't have the width of the Raptor, it was easier to navigate in that trail. So we were able to use different modes once again for the Ranger Raptor, and also use the rear and front locking differential in those rock. And this is where those Hoarder KO2s shines, and it's really in those conditions, rock crawling, trail, and stuff like that. This is where those tires with harder compounds gonna help you achieve what you want. So we're climbing. Also, we had the trail control. This is kind of like a cruise control, but for off-roading. I thought it was really useful while we're climbing. You can also use it while going downhill. Downhill, I'm not a big fan. I prefer, use it with my pedal, with the brakes and all that. I know it's easier on the truck to use that trail control than using the brakes, but while climbing, I thought it was really useful, but downhill, I prefer having the control of it. That trail was not super technical, but still for the Ranger Raptor, we could see how it does with the flex of the suspension. Some rocks were pretty big. Sometimes we've been hitting the skid plate or even the side step. It was not super challenging, but for someone who never did any off-roading, if you're new to it, and if you want to do the Raptor program, it was pretty nice. I'm used to harder off-roading than that, especially it's in the desert. Everything is dry. There was no mud. There were no snow and all that. So I thought it was not super difficult, but it was a nice place to feature all the off-road capacities of the Ranger Raptor. Once again, the track was really fun. High-speed off-roading. I don't think there's any other program, any other manufacturer down there to do some high-speed off-roading. So if you're a little bit just like me, you prefer doing high-speed off-roading, this is really where the Ranger Raptor is going to shine. Overall, I think the Ranger Raptor, it's pretty awesome. I like the packaging. It's worthy of the Raptor name on it. And I think personally, I would probably rather buy a Ranger Raptor than an F-150 Raptor with the caboose for the price difference and all that, for the performance, the packaging and all that. I think it's a better deal. Obviously, the Raptor R, it's way more my style and all that. But if we're looking at the price, I think the Ranger Raptor gives you more value for what you get. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Ford Ranger Raptor? Is it what you were expecting? Are you glad finally Ford is bringing this generation here in North America? Let me know in the comments, and we're going to see each other on our next podcast.